3 months ago, my friend Patricia sat across from a loan officer with a credit score of 621. The rate she got quoted? Almost 7%. On a $350,000 house, which, in this economy, is basically a starter home that comes with a mortgage payment that bites back. 7% doesn't sound scary until you actually do the math. That number was about to cost her an extra $180,000 in interest. Not for the house, for the privilege of having a number the bank didn't love. That's more money than most people make in 5 years of actual work. Gone. Not to the house, to interest, on a house she was already buying. So Patricia did something most people don't. She asked for 90 days before locking the rate. The loan officer basically patted her on the head. Said sure, take your time, but don't expect a miracle. Credit scores move like a city bus on a Sunday. Slow, unbothered, running on nobody's schedule but its own. 93 days later, Patricia walks back in. Her score isn't 621 anymore. It's 761. The loan officer actually asked if she'd typoed her own social security number. That's how big this jump was. 140 points. 13 weeks. Same job. Same income. Same Patricia. If your gut just went, wait, what did she do? Good. Hold on to that feeling, because that's the exact question the credit industry spends millions of dollars making sure you never get a straight answer to. And speaking of questions, drop a comment right now and tell me the worst interest rate you've ever been quoted. The one that made you do the math twice because you didn't believe it the first time. I want to see the number that made you flinch. Because what Patricia found wasn't a hack, wasn't a glitch, wasn't her cheating anybody. It's a switch that's been sitting inside the credit scoring formula this entire time. The banks know exactly where it is, and they are never, ever going to be the ones to point it out to you. So I will. Let's talk about why just be patient and your credit will build is technically true, and still one of the most quietly expensive lies in personal finance. Nobody's lying to your face. That's the annoying part. Pay on time, keep balances low, don't open 10 cards at Best Buy just to save 15% on a blender. All real advice. But wait it out has a cost, and that cost gets billed to you every single month you're stuck in good instead of excellent. Higher APR on your credit card, worse terms on the car, a steeper mortgage rate. In some states, even your car insurance quietly clocks your credit score before they hand you a number. You're not imagining the tax. It's just invisible, so it doesn't feel like one. And here's the part that should make you a little suspicious. The bank benefits from you sitting in that gap longer. Someone stuck at 680 instead of 780 is paying more interest on everything they own. That's not a bug in the system. That's a customer the bank actually prefers. So let's open the hood and look at what's PIDA-score actually running this engine. Your credit score is a prediction. Basically the algorithm asking, if I lend this person money, what are the odds they ghost me in the next 2 years? 3 ingredients matter most. Payment history. Did you pay on time? That's about 35%. Utilization. How much of your available credit you're actually using? That's about 30%. And then, credit age. How long you've had accounts open? That's around 15%. Most people treat that third one like it's out of their hands. Like it's your birthday. You either have the years or you don't. That assumption is where the loophole lives. Here's the mechanism. When someone adds you as an authorized user on their credit card, their entire account history gets imported onto your report. Not starting today, from whenever they opened it. The age, the payment record, the limit, all of it. Stapled onto your file like it was always yours. That's what happened to Patricia. Her mom had 3 cards, over 40 combined years of clean history, utilization under 5%. Basically the retired golden retriever of credit accounts. Never bites, never barks, just sits there being reliable. Mom added Patricia as an authorized user. 2 billing cycles later, that history landed on Patricia's report, like it had been there her whole adult life. 140-point jump. 93 days. And before you assume this only works if your family's already rich, meet Marcus. 24. Credit score of 589. A couple of missed payments from a rough semester. 1 maxed-out store card haunting his report like an ex who won't stop texting. Every dealership was quoting him north of 14% on a used car. His grandfather had cards from 1987. 37 years clean. Grandpa added him as an authorized user. Never even handed him a physical card, just the history. 60 days later, Marcus's score hit 697. His rate dropped to 6%. On a $25,000 loan, that's about $5,200 he keeps, instead of handing to the bank for absolutely nothing extra. Same tool. Two completely different starting lines. If this is the first time you're hearing this, and you're annoyed nobody told you sooner, that's normal. And it's also exactly why you should hit subscribe. Because this channel exists to hand you the stuff that's usually kept behind the loan officer's desk. Now, doing this right actually matters. So a quick checklist. The account has to be in good standing. Low utilization. Ideally old. The person adding you has to care. Trust you, obviously. This is usually family, not your buddy from the group chat. Not every bank reports authorized users to all 3 bureaus, so check first. Amex, Chase, Bank of America, Capital One, and Discover generally do. And the results show up fast. 1 to 2 billing cycles, not years. This isn't a wait for your birthday strategy. And once you know that trick, a few more start showing up. Utilization isn't measured on your due date, it's measured on your statement closing date. So you could pay your card off completely every month, never carry a balance, never pay a dime of interest, and still get penalized because the bank snapshotted you mid-spend, right before payday. Fix is simple. Pay it down before the statement closes, not just before it's due. Same bill, same spending, different math. And your score can jump 20 to 40 points from nothing but timing. Then there's your credit limit. The other half of that ratio nobody talks about. A lot of issuers, Amex especially, will bump your limit with just a soft pull, no hit to your score. Double the limit, you've cut your utilization in half, without changing a single purchase. And if you're mid-mortgage application, there's rapid rescoring, a tool your lender can use, that you can't touch directly, that updates your report in as little as 72 hours instead of a full cycle. Pay down a balance, show proof, and it reflects almost immediately. Stack that with the authorized user move and the timing trick, and people have pulled 50 to 80 points right before final approval, which, on a mortgage, is basically the difference between the bank taking you seriously and the bank taking your firstborn. Now, the ways people mess this up. Picking the wrong account, one with a missed payment or high balance, which imports the bad right along with the good. Opening new credit, while trying to fix old credit, which just resets your average age, like starting a diet the night before Thanksgiving. Being inconsistent with the statement date trick. 1 sloppy month erases 3 good ones. And giving up after 2 weeks because nothing happened yet, when the whole system runs on a 1 to 2 cycle clock. So, quick gut check on where you land. Under 650, the authorized user move is your biggest lever. Between 650 and 720, you're in tune-up territory. Limit increases, timing your payments, maybe a targeted authorized user account. Above 720, you're not fixing a problem anymore. You're just squeezing out the best rate the market's willing to give you. None of this is a glitch. None of this is cheating. It's just the fine print nobody reads out loud to you. And here's the part nobody at the bank is going to say out loud. So, like I promised, I will. The credit scoring system was never built to help you. It was built to help them. To help a bank decide how much to charge you before you even sign anything. Every rule that stays vague, every mechanism that never gets explained on your statement, that's not an accident. That's the business model. Confusion isn't a side effect. Confusion is the product. Think about it. If everybody knew about authorized user Tradelines, everybody knew to pay before the statement date instead of the due date, everybody knew to ask for a limit increase every 6 months, banks would be handing out their best rates to way more people, way faster. That's not good for a business built on the spread between what they pay for money and what they charge you for it. So the information doesn't get hidden in a vault somewhere. It's hidden in plain sight, buried in fine print, dressed up in language that makes your eyes glaze over halfway through paragraph 2. Patricia didn't out-earn her way to a 761. She didn't win the lottery. She didn't get a raise, a new job, or a rich uncle. She just found the one lever that was sitting there the entire time, and pulled it. That $215,000 she's not paying the bank over the life of her mortgage? That's not imaginary money. That's a retirement fund. That's her kid's tuition. That's the difference between working until she's 70 and not. Same house, same income, same woman. The only thing that changed was what she knew. And that's really the split, isn't it? Not rich versus poor, informed versus uninformed. There are people paying 7% and people paying 4% for the exact same risk, the exact same paycheck, the exact same life. And the only difference between them is one of them read the fine print and one of them didn't. So here's my question for you, and I actually want an answer in the comments. What's the first move you're making this week? Adding yourself as an authorized user on a parent's card? Finally checking your statement closing date instead of your due date? Requesting that limit increase you've been too lazy to ask for? Tell me. I want to see it. And if this is the first video of mine you've watched, welcome. And stick around, because this is exactly the kind of thing I dig up and hand to you plain. No jargon, no sales pitch, no, click here to book a call with my financial coach. Just the mechanism. And what it's actually worth in your pocket. Because here's the last thing I'll leave you with. This isn't hidden because it's illegal. It isn't hidden because it's complicated. It's hidden because nobody with a profit motive benefits from you knowing it. Now you know it. What you do with the next 10 minutes of your life, texting your mom, opening your banking app, checking a statement date, is worth more than anything else you'll do with money this week. Patricia spent 10 minutes and saved $215,000. Most people won't spend 10 minutes reading a bank statement. Don't be most people.